Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Adisawe, Kandari in Accra, and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, the main opposition, New Patriotic Party in Parliament, talks tough against Iyoko and demands answers from the Attorney General as flag-bearer spokesperson Dennis Aboagye, also known as Miracles, scrambles to meet conditions of his bail. We'll give you an update as the Iyoko officials visit his home in Latte as they try to meet the bail conditions. Also in the bulletin, Dagbon Kingdom, Kingmakers ban the use of live ammunition in the funeral rites of the overlord of Dagbon as they initiate processes for his replacement. We'll bring you details from the ground. And later in the bulletin, the woes of GN savings and loans deepens as the Supreme Court stays the Court of Appeals order restoring its license, meaning the decision to give them the license to operate has been halted. We'll delve into that as well for you in a moment. We are live around the world on 3news.com and also coming to you live. If you're streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, you can be a part of the show. Before that though, let's bring you the news summaries with Noura Mohammed.
Hello, Martin. First in the news summaries, 2 teacher unions have called on President John Dramani Mahama to issue an immediate directive for the implementation of the long-awaited 20% deprived area allowance for teachers serving in rural and underserved communities. The National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Pre-Tertiary Teacher Unions say they expect the allowance to take effect by September 2026, stressing that teachers have waited too long for a benefit that has been part of their conditions of service since 2009. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana BOG has revoked the dedicated electronic money issuer DEMI license of ZPay Ghana Limited with immediate effect, citing multiple regulatory breaches and persistent non-compliance with directives issued by the central bank. In a statement issued on Monday, July 14, 2026, the Bank of Ghana said the decision was taken under Section 13 of the Payment Systems and Services Act 2019 Act 987. Also in the summaries, Ghana Water Limited GWL has debunked claims circulating on social media that a burst water pipeline inside an overflowing sewage chamber is contaminating its potable water supply, describing the allegations as false, misleading, and without any factual or technical basis. In a statement issued on July 30, the company said it immediately dispatched a team of engineers and technical experts to inspect the location after the video surfaced online. Also, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, MOFA, has received a corporate sponsorship valued at 1,068,455 Ghana cedis from 3 Trees Ghana Painting Limited to undertake the complete exterior painting and renovation of the ministry's national headquarters under the Brighton Ghana initiative. The sponsorship, which covers all project costs at no cost to the government, forms part of 3 Trees Ghana Painting Limited's corporate social responsibility commitment to national development and institutional renewal. And finally, in the summaries, the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Jinapong, has received a delegation from the British High Commission, Accra, led by the British High Commissioner to Ghana, His Excellency Christian Rock, in Accra on Tuesday, July 14. Now, during the meeting, they discussed the reforms that have been undertaken since assuming office, including reforms in the electricity distribution sector, ongoing grid expansion works, and the progress they have made so far. That's it for the summaries. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Noura. And we would have to now settle in for the details. And we are, for those of you who are following us online, you can also find out what's happening on TV. News 360 is early today because of the semi-final game between Spain and France. So we'll bring you details of that particular one. There will be live commentary here on 3FM as well. So you do want to make a date. We are starting from that story that started a few days ago and peaked yesterday. And as we speak, we are told that Dennis Miracles Aboagye is still in the Iyoko custody. And the 2028 campaign director, communications director for Dr. Baomia's campaign. Dennis Miracles Aboagye is likely to spend another night in the custody of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, as his lawyers struggle to raise bail bonds for his release nearly 24 hours after he was granted a 50 million Ghana cedi bail with 3 sureties. Earlier today, EOCO officials took Dennis Aboagye to one of his residences at Latte to inspect the house standard bail execution procedure to help officials know him more and identify places they can locate him when the need arises after he has been released. And our correspondent Christian Yali has been following this particular story. He will join us for an update as we speak. But on the phone lines now is private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu, who has joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Kpebu, thank you for your time. Is it standard practice that such bail conditions come and people are unable to meet it 6 to 12 hours after they've been granted that bail? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes. So that's Martin, name, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So name, that's the problem, and it didn't start today. We've been talking about it, and in the courts are beginning to do something about it. And so we also need to, even though the courts have not perfected it, they've moved a step. I'll explain it later. So EOCO and the police and the other institutions need to also begin to learn from the court so that we can improve. Because you see, the main problem we are saddled with, what usually causes this inability to meet the conditions are that, you see, when they say to be, because of that word, to be justified. So when they say, like in this case, Miracles have been admitted to bail in the sum of 50 million cedis with 3 sureties and 2 to be justified. That word, to be justified, is other this noun form is justification. Means that you have to prove, you have to show property to the, in this case, EOCO, property to the tune of 50 million. Now, these are the problems. We fixated ourselves with only property, when it comes to landed property, only what has been registered at Lands Commission, which is wrong. Look, I can bet that 1 to 1,000, the unregistered properties number those that are registered at least 1 to 1,000 at least. So meaning that an overwhelming majority of properties in Ghana are not registered. So when you set bail and then you are looking for land title, or at least the property is being plotted at Lands Commission, it's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. Listen, we need to talk hard about it and change the system. We've used it to cause too much injustice. So now, the challenge is this. There are many people who have I know people, you see 10 houses, 15, 20, but even one is not registered. And these are people of some means in our society. So name, by this thing that they want justification, they usually want also, justification means proof. Now if you say proof doesn't mean it's only Lands Commission that can show who is owner of any property. No. You can also, especially when these individuals are notable in our society, you can go to the house. Once he brings the property, you go to the house, check. If it's his tenants who are in, you ask, who is your landlord? They will mention, have you ever chatted with landlord? Can you open your phone? Let's see, even if we don't need to read private, just to see that you have conversation with this individual, this number. Do some petty checks. Check the neighbor. Oh, who do you know as the owner of this property? Those will be faster for us. Let's be a lot more practical. In a country where an overwhelming majority of the landed properties are not registered at the various registration points. And so let's make it simple. The Lands Commission, let's just call it Lands Commission. You can't be imposing bail terms that requires somebody to show that his property is registered at Lands Commission. It's not good. It's not any policy based on proof from Lands Commission. It's not a policy.
Wow.
It's not a policy in this Ghana. No, because then it means that you don't even take, what I mean is I see because of our levels of illiteracy. You know now, Shraj, when you go to Shraj and you are illiterate, you can go and make your complaint orally. When you go to OSC, corruption and those things, you can make your complaint orally. There are whistleblowers. There are many laws where they allow that when you cannot read and write, you can go there and talk, then they will write for you. So that's the type of law. So the law recognizes that an overwhelming majority of our citizens cannot read and write. So in the same way, the law must recognize this one. It's not even written in law. So let's say the policy of courts and then security agencies, the ones that have powers of arrest, their policies must recognize that an overwhelming majority of landed properties are not registered. So use other means to be able to find the ownership. If the person brings the property, the landed documents, like I said, you visit the place, and then also you can check with the person who sold to him. If it's a known, the chiefs, the known chiefs, the big ones. So they are where they one way you can verify somebody is an owner of a property, apart from doing a search. So we must move away. If we had adopted that thing, I'm telling you that civil miracles would have been out. Because that evening, you could have just sent 3-4 officers, depending on the number of properties that have been brought up. So the Yoko officer goes there, and all this while they are videoing the property. You say which place, you show, they are videoing, then they will do the enquiries, all this on videotape. So we should be more practical. We should be more practical and stop this thing. Go and bring a property that is registered. Then number 2, not just registered, when you bring it, then I have to make photocopy and go and do a search. In the process of trying to do the search, we are breeding corruption. Because you know what, name? When you go to the Lands Commission, there's a long queue. So when somebody is in custody and needs to come out, you have to pay a premium. You have to pay over and above the official fees quickly.
For expedited service.
Your person to be taken out. So you see, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Then we are in solving one problem of getting somebody out of custody. Then we are entrenching corruption. Then number 3, these properties, they will say they want to do, go and bring an official valuation. That one too, we can use a lot of our common sense. You would know that, look, if the person brings a property from cantonment, most of it, unless it's a 1-bedroom, you know, when we say property, most of the time we are talking about at least minimum of a 3-bedroom or even let's say 2-bedroom. So know that 3-bedroom in cantonment, it can never be less than $300,000. So some of them, when they bring, in the same way, Achimota or Fancourt, there are some figures you can work with. This is what I'm doing. Because it cannot be perfect, initially you can use this wisdom we have. Because if you are going to buy property at cantonment, you cannot go and stand there that you want to buy the property 3-bedroom. You are buying 100,000. Unless, like we say colloquially, unless it's cocaine property. Okay? But standard, there are estate agents who can tell you these are the figures. So we should use that so that when the people bring these properties, we put all together using this common sense and then admit the person to bail. Then after, if you insist that still you want the valuations to be done, then you give the person, but you have, let's say, 1 month to perfect your bail. All the properties you have brought. Now, within a period of 1 month, bring us the valuation report. But as for the search, like I'm saying, that one day we need to change the policy. We need to change the policy. We cannot be relying on only Lands Commission as proof of ownership. No. We've gone past that.
And it makes it even more difficult
to register all the lands in Accra at this time. They are doing it well, bit by bit. You know what it takes to register property. Then we are entrenching corruption. So this we need to change. We need to change. The research must start with the policy on bail. How we are checking, how we are proving ownership when they say this is bail. Now let me come to the court. So now, because of some of these problems, listen, our DSO for Ekufu, when we did the table number 4, as part of it, the judiciary came up with a form. But when they say justification, sometimes because of these problems I've mentioned, they can just let you fill in the form where you are saying that, yes, you have that amount of property, this. So it's a middle way between go and bring a search from Lands Commission where you have to go and be bribing people left, right, center to get the search. Then they say, hey, where's your valuation report? Then you have to go and be, can you imagine? Actually, some of them, sometimes they don't have money. And yet the person needs to bring a valuation report from a certified valuer. Even the valuation report, like I said, sometimes it's not a problem like the pressure. The pressure you are putting on the valuer. So if you want him to stop everything and do evaluation for you, naturally you pay a lot more than if you were to give the valuer 2 weeks.
Right.
So this is a good time. It's sad miracles who are also falling into it, but it's giving us an opportunity to talk more in terms of this bill, restructuring the way we implement.
And where would the change start from, Council? Should it start from the prosecuting authorities, or it's the courts that can say that henceforth, if or maybe the Supreme Court at some point might have to step in, that henceforth, if we want to give someone bail and the conditions under which that bail can be granted, we need to do away with justifiable property. Is there a way the system can review itself and say that henceforth these are the things we should consider if we are granting bail?
Yes. So that's why I said the Supreme Court has taken a step from table number 4.
Right.
So if you open for the lawyers, maybe lawyers who are listening, if you look for the 2017-2020 Supreme Court of Ghana law report, it's there. Practice direction it's inside there where they put it. So Iyoko, police, BNI, they can also learn from it, so that we should do something. Yeah, we should modify the system a bit. A system, I'm telling you that any system that's insisting on go and bring a search report from Lands Commission. When you bring your document, also bring a search that they will even go and conduct the search. Sorry, even when you bring your search, they will not take it to, because people can do forgery. I don't have a problem with that. But when you bring the documents, they will now make photocopy of the site plan and take it to Lands Commission, because they need an independent basis. So when that letter goes, then that's when the accused person and his lawyers have to go and follow and be bribing the system. Bribing, if not, if you leave Lands Commission 1 month, they will not reply, and then the person will be inside. You see this?
And finally, Council, so how the question I want to ask is, does this then not flout the 48-hour order, or the 48-hour capacity that these law enforcement agencies have, which is that then because someone like Dennis is unable to meet the conditions, or the property he's brought and the valuation is likely to eat into another day, the law is being flouted by virtue of that decision? I don't know if you get my question, or you want me to ask it.
Your question is very clear. It's very clear. I'm tempted to say yes, but let me go over. It appears to me, you see, the spirit is hovering around there. So let's restate the law and see. So the law is that when you arrest the person, okay, bring him to court. And let's restate this. Even as lawyers, sometimes we make a mistake. The law is that when you arrest the person, bring him to court within 48 hours. Enter the court within. By a lot of persons, right, we all think that, no, you hold him for 48. After the 48, before you now start preparing to go to court. It's wrong. No, it says enter. Bring him to court within, meaning that you must be inside the courtroom before a judge, before the 48 hours elapse. Meaning that if the 48 hours elapse, even 1 minute before you enter the case is before you get to enter the court, you flouted it. So now, when Idoko, let's say in this case, has granted bail, but the conditions are such that the person cannot meet them, the law is also saying then that, look, if you don't release him, so this is where we all need to now pay attention. The word release, they didn't say grant bail. The law is saying that if you arrest somebody and you don't release him, then within 48 hours, bring him to court. So it should be very clear to the law enforcement agency from day one. They would know what bail conditions they want to set. Some of these things, let's stop playing ostrich.
Okay.
They would know that this person, when we bring him, this is the bail we want to set. If they don't know, what we want to say is that law enforcement should start doing that kind of thing. Plan in advance, because we need to plan. It's because we are not planning. That's why the floods are killing us, etc. If they too will say they know they cannot plan ahead, then no wonder people will stay in custody beyond 48 hours. So we can do that. So it appears to me that you can tell with certainty that this person, when we grab him, we are putting bail at this point.
Right.
So my point is that the moment you get him, then you put these conditions. If you cannot meet, then quickly start preparing to court, because the rule name is that it says if he is not released, then bring him to court within 48 hours. Right. So if you give the bail when it's 48 hours or just an hour to 48 hours, you flouted the law. Because at that point, you are not guaranteed that when he's not able to meet it, you can run to court within 48 hours.
Right.
So I think it's becoming clear that we have to stop that thing. We have to stop it. Yoko and the rest can't be setting bail just when it's maybe 3 hours or 4 hours to 48 hours. No. Okay. Because when you give the bail 3-4 hours, even let's say 10 hours to 48 hours, and the person is not able to meet it, you will not then be able to quickly enter the court before the 48 hours. You will not be able to. Certainly. Listen, it's not rocket science. Yeah. We just need to plan. You see, law enforcement, if you leave them, you see, we have different mindsets. So you and I, you sitting on radio as a journalist, yes, you are right-centered. Journalists are usually human rights by nature, human rights activists too. Yes, except that it shows in different levels of aggression. But once you love journalism from its nature, you are right-centered. Lawyers, a lot of us are also right-centered. So we would agree. Somebody who goes and wants to be a policeman, etc., often know. He too, a lot of them, they are biased to keep people in custody. So if you are trusting that they will do this planning, sorry, it will not happen. So we need to set up a committee to help how we plan this thing. That's what the Supreme Court said in the table number 4 case, that the moment it's clear to you that you don't want to grant bail, start preparing to send a person to court. So meaning that as soon as you grab miracles, but now you would have known that this guy, when we come, we have too many things to do with him. We cannot finish within 48 hours. So from the moment you grab him, you start processing your papers for court, so that you go and justify to the court that, oh, we want to do X, Y, Z with him. We cannot finish. Right. Then his lawyers will also argue and try to punch holes. Then the judge listening to the two will decide. Listen, it's not rocket science. Okay. It's not. Some people want to make it look so complex. It's not. It's planning. Okay. Because you would know before you bring the suspect, you are investigating your case. You know the kind of things you want to ask him and the load, where it will go here, will go there, blah, blah, blah. You see miracles, so you see alleging, and which is looking very bad, that when he was taken into custody the Saturday night, nobody interrogated him. The whole of Sunday, no interrogation. It was Monday afternoon when Atasia went, that's when interrogation is going to start. That is not law. Okay. That is not law. That is what we call brute force. This is, if you don't talk strongly about it, this society will retrogress. It is not law. That is what we call brute force. Okay. And you plan. If you don't have interrogators ready to interrogate, why are you picking the man? The man has come from abroad. Okay? He has come from overseas. It's not like he's running out of the airport that you say, hey, no, we're scared. He's come back into Ghana. So then why don't you even give him something like house arrest? Yes, right. And you see, that's another area, the house arrest side that we should be looking at. Okay. That, we would go. You would be at home. We have a policeman, of course, because he is a party person, maybe there will be fears like, hey, what if in his room he calls the party people? But I doubt. They will call party people to come and beat up the police. Oh, no, we don't do that. Council. Police go and take care of party elections. So somebody say, hey, security, if we go and keep only 3 people at his gate and he will hire Matthew men to some of the things we even say, they are not looking good. Okay, if you think that's too dangerous, in between, you can do something better than Yoko self. Okay. We can do something better. I think we are not thinking enough. We are not thinking. It's the same mindset that has resulted in floods killing us all these decades. We are not thinking enough. Okay. And sometimes we forget.
I mean, clearly, the point you've made has dominated the conversations, and the new perspectives you bring to it would help us as we try to shape our legal system some more. We want to leave it here for now, and thank you always for speaking to us, Counsel.
You're welcome.
And that is Martin Pebu, private legal practitioner, and throws in a totally interesting angle to this conversation having to do with bail conditions and bail bonds that many of you have also been sharing thoughts on. He's suggesting that the conditions need to be looked at, especially within the 48-hour time frame that has been suggested. So we will definitely keep an eye on this to see. And like we are indicating, or the kind of information we are picking up indicates that Dennis Abuaje would definitely need a miracle if he is to leave the premises of Iyoko today. Let's speak to our correspondent now, Christian Yali, who's been on this beat since yesterday, joins us on the phone lines. Christian, thank you once again. So what's happening at the premises of Iyoko as we speak? Is Dennis Abuaje still within the precincts of Iyoko?
Martin, so just a while ago, about 2 minutes earlier, officials of Iyoko, together with Dennis Miracles Abuaje, returned from an official visit to Latte, to the residences, to inspect and to more or less exactly one of the standard bail execution procedures that before the police of Iyoko will release.
Unfortunately, Christian, we are unable to hear you clearly at all because there seemed to be a break in the line. We would have to try and reconnect with Christian Yali because probably as a result of the news of the return of Miracles Abuaje and the Iyoko officials back to the premises of Iyoko, I think there's a bit of back and forth, so it's looking quite chaotic in hearing what exactly Christian Yali is telling us, but we'll try and reconnect with him. But he was just giving us an update about the development regarding Miracles Abuaje and the Iyoko officials. We are told that they visited his property in Latte and have just returned to the offices of Iyoko. Christian, if you can hear me, the line got a bit jerky a few minutes ago. You were giving us an update. You say they have returned from inspecting Miracle's property in Latte. Is that the case?
That is the case, Martin, if you hear me too. Also because, like I was explaining, it's part of the standard bail execution procedure for them to know where the suspect stays before they would proceed to release him. That is when he had been able to meet the bail conditions. They moved from here around the afternoon, and they just 2 minutes ago just returned. When you come to Iyoko's premises right now, loudspeakers are being blasted. PA systems are here. There are a number of the party supporters who have been brought. They came in just around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. thereabouts, and have been here just pressing again that demand for his release. And so I like how you started it by saying that indeed, if there is anything at all, then Dennis would need a miracle to be released. And it is not looking likely that he may be released today, which is just giving the indication that he might probably spend another night in the custody of Iyoko after 24 hours of being granted the 50 million cedi bill with 3 sureties to be justified. Martin.
Right, Christian, thank you for that important update, and we'll definitely be coming to you to find out if any miracle happens today. Christian Yale is our man reporting from the offices of Iyoko over the last 24 hours. He has been there 24, probably even 48 hours, I can say, because we spoke to him around this time yesterday, and the arrest of Dennis Abuaje happened on Saturday into Sunday, and then throughout yesterday he is there. He was there. He's been granted bail, but it looks as though the bail conditions that he is expected to meet are quite overwhelming, and on the back of that, 2 of the items need to be justified, and Iyoko officials and Dennis Abuaje visited a property believed to belong to Dennis Abuaje in Latte to verify that it actually is his, and they have just returned from that trip. So between now and we don't know when, if the officials say that they are satisfied with what they have seen and the documents that have been brought to Iyoko as a way of confirming that Dennis Abuaji meets all the conditions, then he will be released. So it is 30 minutes after 5 p.m. We are waiting to see if by close of day today that miracle will happen for Dennis Abuaji, where he can now go home and then investigations will continue. We'll update you subsequently on any new development that would come up. And staying on the subject matter, though, it was a heated conversation on the floor of Parliament where the minority leader, Alexander Penyomaki, has demanded that the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, appear before Parliament to explain the arrest and detention of Dennis Abuaji by Iyoko. And there's been a back and forth. First, let's listen to the minority leader, Penyomaki, and then we'll pick the thoughts of the Majority Chief Whip, Roxanne Nelson Dapamekos. First, this is the minority leader, Alexander Penyomaki.
Can the Minister of Justice and Attorney General be programmed, Mr. Speaker, urgently to come and brief this House on the activities of Iyoko? Mr. Speaker, we are a house with oversight responsibility. Mr. Speaker, there are things that are happening. If we don't talk about it today, tomorrow, the other side may be wearing the shoe. Mr. Speaker, the Director of Communications of our party, Miracles Abuaji, was arrested and detained by Iyoko at the airport. Mr. Speaker, he has been in custody for over 3 days. We are not against accountability. We are against the Rambo style. Mr. Speaker, our colleagues should not be up in arms. It can be them tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, what is happening to Miracle Abuaji is not good for our democracy. The Attorney General should come to this House and brief us of the situation. There, Iyoko will arrest people if the person was in the country, has traveled, he's coming, then in a Rambo style, he's arrested. Mr. Speaker, at the airport, detained for over 3 days. Mr. Speaker, and now they are demanding properties worth 55 million cedis before he's granted bail. Let's be careful, my dear political colleagues. Let's be careful, Ghanaian political leaders. It can be somebody today. There is an election ahead. You can never tell. Don't let us encourage some of these excesses.
And so you heard the voice of Alexander Penyomaki, who is the minority leader in Parliament. Like I indicated, this has become quite topical on the floor of Parliament. And when you swing to the majority side, they said that they totally disagree with the position being shared by the minority. So let's listen to the Majority Chief Whip, Roxanne Nelson Dapamekwa, who's also shared a thought or two on this particular development.
The Iyoko proceeded to further say that the arrest follows extensive investigations commenced by Iyoko after receiving a petition from the current Executive Secretary of IMCCOD requesting further investigations into a forensic audit conducted into the affairs of the Secretariat covering the period from 1st August 2022 to 2nd February 2025. Mr. Speaker, the charges that Miracles Abuaji and Gerard Appiah faces include conspiracy to steal and stealing, using public office for profit, causing financial loss to the state, dissipation of public funds, defrauding by false pretenses, and money laundering. So, Mr. Speaker, the minority leader has no right under the sun to suggest that where an investigative body has conducted a year-long investigation into a matter, has invited the suspects, and now has made a prima facie determination and is effecting arrest that may possibly lead to prosecution. The minority leader is on this floor saying that we should invite the Attorney General to come and respond to what? That we must not demand accountability from public office holders. Is it not the same man who stands on this floor and cautioning us that we as politicians we should be careful, and that it is the public servants who do all the things that we get blamed? And today when the public servant is getting blamed, you are saying that he shouldn't be blamed. So by all means we can do politics.
Roxanne Nelson Dapamako is Majority Chief Whip, totally countering the argument put forward by the minority, asking that the issues of state security agencies or institutions that are investigating some of these matters need the full freedom to operate within the remit of the law. So tampering and interfering should not be countenanced. So that's the argument put forward by the majority on this issue of Roxanne Nelson, Dennis Miracles Abuaji, his current arrest and detention at Yoko. The latest regarding that is they are trying to review the document he has presented as in an attempt to meet the bail conditions which have been slapped on him. 50 million Ghana cedis with 3 sureties. Out of that 3, 2 of them need to be justified, and one of the properties that have been justified we are told belongs to Dennis himself, so it is in Latte. They've just returned. Yoko officials and Dennis have just returned from Latte, where they went to check the property, the documentation, and to be double sure that it is one that is in his name, or at least can be used as guarantee to secure him bail. We'll update you subsequently when new developments do come up. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be taking a quick trip to the northern region and update you on a new order coming in where, following the death of the overlord of Dagbon, we are told that no live ammunition should be used during the funeral rites, which is expected to start in a few days' time. We'll let you know what exactly the orders are and what the preparations are regarding his burial. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition.
Play and connect. Play, connect, and create. Don't hear about it. Be there. Content creators and football lovers, are you ready? Creator Cycles is back with Play and Connect 3.0, the Creator Cup Jersey Edition. Get ready for an unforgettable afternoon where football passion meets content creation. Rock your favorite football jersey, challenge your friends in a PlayStation battle, enjoy arcade games, creator collaborations, amazing content creation, and the live streaming of the FIFA World Cup final on a giant screen. It's more than football. It's networking, fun, and unforgettable.
92.7. This is 3FM and you're listening to Hot Edition with me, Martin Nasidu Date. Now, the Council of Kingmakers in Dagbon have announced an immediate ban on the use of live ammunition during the third day funeral rites of the late overlord of Dagbon, Ndana Yakubu Abubakar II. The directive was issued on Tuesday by the Director General Technical of the Ghana Police Service, who is also the Chief of Sing, during an emergency meeting of the Kingmakers at the Gbewa Palace, citing rising cases of injuries caused by celebratory gunshots. The third day funeral of the late King of Dagbon, Ndana Abubakar II, has been slated for Thursday, the 16th of July. The long-standing cultural practice of firing blank gunpowder to produce symbolic gunshots at festivals and the funerals of chiefs and distinguished personalities has been distorted, leading to the use of live bullets, which cause avoidable deaths and injuries. Earlier this month, the Member of Parliament for Prestia Ahoni Valley, Robert Wisdom Kujo, called for the strict enforcement of laws banning the use of live ammunition during festivals and traditional ceremonies, warning that the practice has become a major public safety and security threat. Let's listen to him as he made this argument.
Strict enforcement by security agencies. The Ghana Police Service, working in collaboration with their municipal and district chief councils, security councils, that is MUSEC and DISEC, must strictly enforce existing laws prohibiting the use of live ammunition at public festivals. Any individual found discharging firearms loaded with live rounds must be arrested and prosecuted without fear or favor. 2. Collaboration with traditional authorities. The National House of Chiefs, traditional councils, and community leaders must work closely with security agencies to sanitize our festivals. Traditional authorities should ensure that only designated, vetted, and licensed individuals are permitted to perform musketry, strictly using blank powder and never live ammunition.
And so that is the voice of the Member of Parliament for Prestia Ahoni Valley, Robert Wisdom Kujo. He is calling for strict enforcement of laws banning the use of live ammunition during festivals and traditional ceremonies, and is warning that the practice has actually become a major public safety and security threat. In a moment, we'll try and get some further perspectives, especially speak to our correspondent, Christopher Amwako, who has been following this beat for us. Chris, thank you for joining us. First of all, we know that as of yesterday, it was morning. Some directives were given regarding school and operating of shops and businesses. What's the mood like today?
Yeah, so it's so characterized with the sad situation that we witnessed yesterday, even though today people have gone to do their businesses, except for those who are closer to the Bewa Palace. They have not been able to do much today, but I can say that today the mood is a bit different in other places like Tamale, Miao, and other adjoining communities around the Yendi enclave, except to say that the people are still grieving over the loss of the king of Dagbon, Diana Abukari II.
And we are told that a directive has been given against the use of live ammunitions. How are people taking that? Because he is a major figure when you talk about the northern region. His funeral is likely to attract thousands, if not even up to about 1 million. How are people who usually would partake in these funeral rites, how are they taking the news of the ban against using live ammunition?
Yes, so this is a concern that even the residents within this area have been raising over the past year. You know, usually when there are traditional festivals, in the past, the use of gunpowder was what the people knew. But in recent past, we've seen that there is some introduction of some sophisticated weapons. And so that has been a major concern for even the residents and traditional authorities alike. The late Yana has never, during his lifetime, agreed for the use of live ammunition. We ran several reports where he has directed, especially during the fire festival, that he was not going to allow anybody to use live ammunition. And so the Kingmakers, knowing the person he was, a peace-loving person and someone who did not want the public to be peace to be disturbed. And so they have equally issued this directive that no one should attend the funeral with any live ammunition that will be used at the funeral ground. They can go ahead to use the ones that have to do with gunpowder, but for you to use live ammunition, they have indicated clearly that you will be arrested and made to face the full rigors of the law. And so the residents are happy that this directive has been given, and they are hopeful that the people will abide by it.
Right. And finally, ahead of Thursday, what should the expectation be? We know a lot of people are looking forward to, beyond the fact that people are mourning and a great tree has fallen, there's also going to be a lot of cultural display. What are the expectations ahead of Thursday?
Yes, so Dagbon is a traditional area that has not left its cultures and tradition, and so the real cultures and tradition of the Dagbon Kingdom will be brought to bear starting tomorrow, because from tomorrow most of the traditional leaders will begin their trip to Yendi to mourn the late Yana, even as they wait for Thursday for the Islamic prayers, which is also known as Atwa. Now, beyond the entry of the people, several traditional and cultural performances, we are going to see them because this is the second time that we are seeing the funeral of late Yana. In 2019, we saw the performance of two funerals of late Yanas. We had the Abudu Gate performing and the Andani Gate performing, which made way for the installation of the current Yana, who also just passed. And so we are going to see a repetition of this precious cultures and traditions of the people of Dagbon. But I must also say that security is well established. The Regional Coordinating Council has equally deployed enough security to ensure that there won't be any casualties or any incidents that will mark the performance of the funeral of the late Yana. So everything is in place for the performance of the funeral, whether traditionally, culturally, and when it also comes to security.
Right. Thank you very much, Christopher Amwako, who is a Northern and Savannah regional correspondent, updating us on what to expect ahead of the funeral of the overlord, the late overlord of Dagbon, who passed away a few days ago. He's been buried, but the funeral, we are told, would start on Thursday. So services are expected to commence from tomorrow evening throughout up until the funeral rites are all observed. And like he indicated, we all need to pay attention to that specific order which has been given, which is that people who would want to use live ammunition during the funeral service need to think twice, because that will not be countenanced on any ground. And this follows recent reports of people using live ammunition or even the regular musketry used during festivals and funeral processions, which has caused harm and in some instances death to fellow celebrants of some of these occasions, or people who are observing these occasions, be it funeral or a festival, etc. The use of some of these ammunitions have led to people getting injured or dying. So a strict order has been given against the use of the live ammunitions. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. We're going on to some other stories this evening, and you would recall that we have been following other major developments in the country for you. The most topical has had to do with the latest regarding Miracles Abuaji. He has returned, and we are getting indications that following how things have panned out, he's likely to be released from Yoko custody today. And in as much as the conditions, we are told, are quite hefty, the indications we are getting is that because he's been in for more than the 48 hours expected, there is a possibility that, having fulfilled or met all the bail conditions, he's likely to be released today. Beyond that result, we've also updated you on how that has played out in Parliament. The minority and the majority have had a go at the subject and at each other, sharing different thoughts and perspectives, where a warning has been given by the minority that power is transient. And if you are not careful, if the tables turn today and there's a change in government, there's a likelihood that the same measure will be used against those who will now be in the minority, because when they are also being audited or their term in office is being checked, it might go against them. Let's turn our attention to one of our headline stories we have for you this evening, having to do with GN Savings and Loans. And lawyers for the GN Savings and Loans Company Limited have described as unfortunate the decision of the Supreme Court to halt the restoration of their license, adding that they remain open to exploring other avenues. Earlier, a 5-member panel of justices chaired by the Chief Justice granted a motion for a stay of execution of the order of the Court of Appeal. On June 16, the Court of Appeal struck out the motion to stay the execution, giving the company the leeway to resume operations. The parties again escalated the matter to the Supreme Court, seeking an order from the Apex Court to stay the execution of the Court of Appeal's decision. Reacting to the development, lawyer for GN Savings and Loans Company Limited noted that further action would be taken. Before we come to hear exactly what the lawyer has been saying, let's speak to Lord Edwasar, who's been in court and has kept tabs on this story for us. Lord, thank you for your time. For those who may be new to this, help us with a brief background on why GN Savings and Loans is back in court. Many thought that, they've been given permission to start operation. What happened again?
Indeed, Martin, this has been spanning from 2019 when the first rebranded, or the license was taken from being a bank to savings and loans. Now, they sought to, after their license was revoked, they challenged this revocation at the High Courts. The High Court upheld the decision of the Central Bank of Ghana that indeed they hadn't met certain criteria as far as far as the recapitalization was concerned, and that was the reason why it upheld the decision of the Bank of Ghana to revoke their license. Now, fast forward to this year, the case has still been in court. They went to the Court of Appeal to again challenge the High Court's decision. They're seeking they're praying the High Courts to, as it were, quash that. They're praying the Court of Appeal, I should say, to quash their High Court's decision, which revoked their license. Now, the Court of Appeal granted that their prayer quashed the High Court's decision, which led to their license being restored. That we saw the resulting press conference by Dr. Indum, and then essentially a lot of grants have been made for them to resume the operations. Now, in June, the receiver and then the Bank of Ghana went to the Court of Appeal to stay the execution or stay the decision given by the Court of Appeal as far as the restoration of license is concerned. Now, the Court of Appeal struck out this decision, dismissed it, and so they still had the leeway, or they could continue with the operationalization. And then they filed a repeat application to stay the execution order by the Court of Appeal, but this time around at the Supreme Court. And so this was what was heard today at the Apex Court, where their lawyers made the arguments, among other things, that indeed the Court of Appeal's decision shouldn't have held because GN Bank license also have been revoked, looking at the fact that they hadn't met the various requirements. Now, after listening to all the arguments, the 5-member panel of justices chaired by the Chief Justice Paul Bafoboni indicated that indeed certain matters need to be determined, and so they are going to stay the execution or stay that order by the Court of Appeal, which enabled essentially GN Savings and Loans to resume their operations. What this means is that in the meantime, they have to be on hold until the Court of the Appeal, which has been filed by the Bank of Ghana, is determined. And so that was what the lawyer essentially was saying, that, I mean, they take, although they are not pleased with it, they take it in good faith, and they do explore other
options available.
Indeed.
Right, and coincidentally, he's joined us online. Counsel, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hi, good evening, and good evening to your chair's listeners.
I'm sure today's outcome was not what you expected, and even before today, the fact that the Supreme Court has asked for a stay on the earlier ruling, what do you make of it, and what are the next steps you said you are considering?
Well, first of all, let me put it in context. Before today, there was no stay on the execution. You recall that on 21st of May, the Court of Appeal delivered a judgment and said that the decision taken by the Bank of Ghana was wrong and that they should restore the license and then also restore all assets that were being handled by the receiver. Subsequent to that, both the Bank of Ghana and the receiver applied to the Court of Appeal for a stay of execution. And that application was determined on the 16th of June. The Court of Appeal had arguments from both parties and ruled that there was no exceptional circumstance that warrant them granting a stay of execution. So that, in essence, paved the way for us to proceed with the steps that were being taken to execute the judgment of the Court of Appeal. We were in that process when we were served with another applications, 2 separate applications, again filed by the Bank of Ghana and then the receiver, asking again, now asking the Supreme Court to stay the judgment of the Court of Appeal until the determination of the appeal. So that is what we want to court today to do. And the Supreme Court, after hearing argument of both parties, rather ruled that they would rather prefer that where we are now, the status quo should remain as it is now until they have determined the appeal. So the substantive appeal is still pending before the Supreme Court, which has not been heard. As it stands now, the only judgment that is available is the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which has determined that the decision of the Bank of Ghana was wrong. And what has only happened now is that the Supreme Court said that because the Bank of Ghana has filed an appeal, let's wait to determine the appeal before we go through the process of executing the judgment. So yes, it's not the outcome we expected. I mean, we thought that after having taken over the assets of the company for well over 7 years, it will not be in the interest of justice to continue to hold the hands of the bank until the appeal is determined. We believed that we could have gone through the execution processes while still dealing with the appeal at the Supreme Court. But His Lordships disagreed with us and said they want the status quo to remain. And so what that means is that as it stands now, we cannot proceed with the execution of the judgment. We have to wait for the Supreme Court to determine the appeal before we can now, based on the decision that they will make in the final judgment, then that will now determine the next steps to be taken.
Right. And when are you likely to return to court on this subject? When is the appeal likely to be heard?
Well, so the substantive appeal, currently we have done what we call the settlement of the record at the Court of Appeal. And I believe the registry of the Court of Appeal is now compiling the record of proceedings. The record of proceedings is what will form the basis of the appeal before the Supreme Court. And so it is when they have finished compilation with the record of proceedings and transmitted it to the Supreme Court, that is when we can actually talk more about timelines. For now, what we are doing is to work with the registry of the Court of Appeal and then to maybe see how best we can assist them to prepare the record of proceedings as quickly as possible, so that the substantive appeal can be determined. But let me quickly also add that the decision of the ruling of today is not just the end of the matter. I mean, there are other avenues that we could take. There are other rights we could explore. So in the meantime, we are applying for the certified ruling of the court, and then once we get that, then we can now advise ourselves on the next steps to be taken.
Well, we'll have to leave it here for now. Thank you for speaking to us this evening, Counsel.
All right, you are most welcome.
And that is Cletus Alenga, who is the lead counsel for GN Savings and Loans Company Limited. And you heard that they have filed an appeal, or at least are waiting for a final decision to be made regarding whether or not they can go ahead and operate as a savings and loans company. We'll update you when that final court decision is made. And on the back of that, we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you'll find many more stories and all that we brought to you this evening. My name is Martin Asiedu Dase. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.